Hello, welcome to Cow Daily. Excuse me. As soon as you start talking, the frogs come out. Today we're going to talk about me being a massive grass. I've done something that I've never done before, which is report somebody to the press regulator. If you've been watching the show recently, you'll probably have a good idea who that was, because I told you I was going to do it. And we got a response. So we're going to do that today on the show. I'd be very interested to hear what you think about IPSO, the press regulator. Very interesting indeed. People are popping up in the comments already. Nice. Morning, Mr. Croaky, says Joanne. I am as well. I'm very surprised. It's the first time I've opened my mouth to speak this morning, actually. Probably why. Right. What else do we have? Zoe's in. Hello, mate. Nice to see people popping up. Always a good thing. Time on a tradition now. Go to youtube.com/Cow Daily. Go to the community tab. We'll be doing much more community building in there, as it helps us grow this channel, game the algorithm, all of that, and helps me offset the frustration I felt from 2 months on the treatment table. Once we'd got all, honestly, man, we're about to crack the top 10 again. And then the crash happened. But I'm not bitter, I promise. Right. What else is there? patreon.com/Cow Daily if you'd like to support our work. That's patreon.com/Cow Daily. You can also support our work via a one-off donation via the PayPal link in description. Cheers, chaps. Lovely. Who else is in the house? Duncan's in. Nice to see you. Seeing the notifications working. Time, great. Kirsty's in. Nice to see you, mate. Spotty Dogs. Plenty others in. Haven't seen you, so say hello in the comments. I'll just get rid of this banner and we'll dance on. Also, if you'd like to share the stream, that would be absolutely better. And obviously, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get the things. Reet. Do you want to talk about it? Oh, Michael's in. Hello, Michael. Good morning. Right. Let's talk about the thing. Just a quick reminder first about what we're actually talking about, and we'll do a little hope section at the end, if you worry. But before I do, I've got a croak on, apparently. I'll just take a drink for the audio people. Just you wait. I don't know why I'm doing the really want to shave those fingers voice from Reeves and Mortimer today. Maybe it's just working around the jellyfish that's in the back of my throat. Who knows? Anyway, I grasped Peter Hitchens up for this. End this crude smear against conservatives. Hitler's Nazis were in fact left-wing racists. They responded. So that's what it was about, and you can probably understand what the being incensed was about. If you want a deeper dive into this, there's shows last week where you can crack on with that. Just a quick refresher, though. This is from the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust. Political opponents and trade unionists. On assuming power in the 1933, the first people the Nazis targeted for arrest and imprisonment were political opponents, primarily communists, trade unionists, and social democrats. Dachau, the first Nazi concentration camp, was built in March 1933 to imprison political opponents. The Communist Party, the KPD, was banned in March 1933. Trade unions were disbanded in May, and the Social Democrats, SPD, abolished in the June. Leaders of these parties and unions were arrested or fled into exile. By the end of 1933, there were almost 27,000 people imprisoned in concentration camps, and the majority of these were political prisoners. For more information, read I Am Healthy and I Feel Fine, the collected letters of Marian Szczyzierski. I said that better the first time last week, who was held as a political prisoner in Auschwitz. Szczyzierski, thank you. Really want to share those fingers. Why is that trapped in my voice box? Who knows? So anyway, what's IPSO got to say? I also reached out to the CEO of Hacked Off, Nathan Sparks, and I've got a response from him as a result of it because I sent it to him. So here we go. Right, so this is the RA, Independent Press Standards Organization complaint. So they've sent this out to a lot of people by the looks of it, because obviously a lot of people did complain. So what it says is, I write further to our earlier email regarding your complaint about an article headlined, End This Crude Smear Against Conservatives, Hitler's Nazis were in fact left-wing racists, published by The Mail on Sunday, 12th of March, 2023. A substantively similar version of this article also appeared online under the headline Peter Hitchens, End This Crude Smear Against Conservatives, Hitler's da-da-da-da. Gary Lineker knows as much about politics as I know about football. Ipso received a large volume of complaints about the above article, and in the interests of responding to complaints in a timely manner, we've prepared this response, which draws together and responds to all of the main concerns raised by complainants. Does it? Let's have a look at what they're saying. So, when the Independent Press Standards Organization, IPSO, receives a complaint, the complaints team review it first to decide whether the complaint falls within our remit and whether it raises a possible breach of the editor's code of practice. The framework IPSO used to regulate the press. We have now completed an assessment of the complaints we've received. Thanks for the preamble there, IPSO. They say, complainants said that the article breached Clause 1, accuracy of the editor's code. It bloody does. Because it reported that the Nazis were left-wing. In assessing whether this point of complaint raised grounds for an IPSO investigation, we noted that the characterization of political philosophies as left or right on the political spectrum is a subjective assessment. Is it? Okay. People will have different perspectives and viewpoint on what constitutes a left-wing group. Right, okay, that's interesting. We also noted that the claim appeared in the context of a clearly marked first-person opinion piece. In such circumstances, we consider the columnist's characterization of the Nazi Party as left-wing racist would be understood to be his personal assessment rather than the claim of fact. Right, just to cut in at this point, right? People who are watching last week will see that he repeated all of this on Talk TV, and we also complained to Ofcom, right? So if it's an opinion piece, right? Do you know what it is, right? This is just, I can't even believe that we're engaging with this absolute, like, mealy-mouthed shit. But anyway, I'm going to go get to the end of this, and then we'll respond to it then. It's absolutely mad. So anyway, it's his opinion that the left-wing racist, apparently, and that's fine. It's my opinion, hold on, it's 7 minutes 12. It's my opinion that Peter Hitchens is a fucking bellend then. So where we're going, we also noted that the claim appeared in the context of a clearly marked first-person opinion piece. In such circumstances, we considered the columnist's characterization of the Nazi Party as left-wing racist would be understood to be his personal assessment rather than a claim of fact. We did not therefore identify grounds for an investigation or possible breach of Clause 1. My God. Right, it goes on. It's long, this, but we'll have to do it because I told you I'd do this, but also I think it raises some questions that we'll discuss between at the end. So get your reactions in the comments and we'll have a good old discussion once I've read this out for you. So anyway, some complainants also said that the article breached Clause 12 discrimination because it discriminated against people who are not right-wing and was anti-Semitic. Clause 12 is designed to protect specific individuals mentioned by the press from discrimination based on their race, color, religion, gender, identity, sexual orientation, or any physical or mental illness or disability. It does not apply to groups or categories of people. Therefore, while we understand that complainants had significant concerns on this point, we did not identify grounds to investigate a possible breach of Clause 12, where there was no reference to the protected characteristic of a specific individual within the article and the complaint. For me, that is, like, fair enough. You know, I mean, being left-wing isn't a protected characteristic, even though it's one of the most smeared and tarnished things somebody could be in 2023 in the UK. But, you know, in terms of like applying the clauses and whatever, I think personally that this is correct. I mean, being left-wing is not a protected characteristic. It's a political viewpoint. I'm not even going to get into the whataboutery of that at this point in terms of the right. We'll just carry on. So anyway, for more information about Clause 12 and how it works, they link a blog. It carries on. Complainants also expressed concern that the article harassed Gary Lineker and breach of Clause 3 harassment. I'd just like to point out I wasn't one of those complainants. I wasn't going to bat for the crisp nonce at all. IPSO is able to consider complaints from an individual who is personally and directly affected by the alleged breach of the editor's code of practice. Complaints from a representative group are affected by an alleged breach where there's substantial public interest in complaints from third parties about accuracy. In the case of third-party complaints, we will need to consider the position of the party most closely involved. Ding. In this case, the party directly affected by the alleged breach of Clause 3 was Barry Spinnaker. As complainants were not acting their behalf as an authorised representative, we were not able to consider this aspect of the complaints further. Basically, to cut a long story short, they've booted that one out because it's not Lineker himself making the complaint, but they do say he can make a complaint himself. I wonder if he will. So anyway, it goes on. Further complaints were raised by the complainants. The article breached Clause 9, reporting of crime by inaccurate reporting on war crimes. Clause 9 generally relates to the identification of the friends and family of the individuals who are accused or convicted of crime. As the complaints did not relate to this, we did not identify grounds to investigate a possible breach of Clause 9. Just cutting in there, I'd like to know what the Holocaust Museum think of that. Personally, I don't know if there's a quote there. I looked for one. Don't know. I'll approach them for one myself. Anyway, so you were entitled to request that the executive decision to reject your complaint be reviewed without reading the rest of this bollocks. Absolutely doing that later on. This is absolutely and utterly outrageous on all levels. I'm sure anybody in their right mind would agree. So what we got? I reached out to Nathan Sparks, CEO of Hacked Off. He says this: IPSO is controlled by the national press, and its standards code is riddled with loopholes put in place by the editors who wrote it. Even in cases like this, where there's overwhelming evidence of a breach of standards, its lack of independence leaves it disinclined to act, and its lack of powers render it unable to do so, even if it wanted to. A pretty damning assessment from Nathan there. I'm sure you'll agree. And I mean, as we said on the show when we said we were going to put the complaint in, didn't think it was going to do anything whatsoever because of what we know about IPSO. And we've been proven right, but it's an interesting exercise in exposing how the levers of power actually work. We'll go on and talk about a little bit more here. This is from Hacked Off's findings from their report, which I'll reference in a moment. So among the key findings, it took almost 6 months on average for IPSO to reach a ruling on complaints. Only 0.3% of complaints were ultimately upheld. More than 1,000 complaints were abandoned. Corrections requested by IPSO were on average 7 times shorter than the article in breach of standards. 0 fines, 0 investigations, and 0 arbitration outcomes were reported ever, not just for 2020 when the report came out. I mean, that is startling, man. That is absolutely and utterly ridiculous, isn't it? It's just like, what's the point in a press regulator that toothless? And I mean, it's the newspapers themselves who fund it, but they're not actually. Well, I read on the IPSO website that they're saying it's like, you know, there's an the board's independently weighted and da. Now, I wouldn't allege that there's any shenanigans going on because here we are, but it makes you wonder if there's been 0 fines, 0 arbitration, like none of those things has happened. This is 2023. We've got a journalist saying the Nazis were left wing. What the hell is going on? And they're just kicking it out because it's his opinion. Whereas you look at the framing of the headline, it's, for me, it just gets crazier by the day. But like, the top and bottom of it is this, right? There's a piece by Ben Sellers he wrote the other day. He posted on his page, right? I thought it was very interesting. I reference him a lot because I think he's a good writer, and I think he says it as it is. And what he says within that is that politics is really brutal, and you know, it's not about information and gathering of facts and all that. And I agree with that. That's true, but it means we should still gather them because, you know, we'll look at yesterday's show regarding the COVID and the Great Forgetting. Like, it wasn't until the 1960s, early 1970s, like 50 years later, that it started popping up and appearing in books. It wasn't even in the Encyclopedia Britannica a few years after 1918 and the years around the Spanish flu. So we cannot diagnose a problem unless we do things like this. Like, unless we do things like this with IPSO, and obviously I'll let you know about what happens with Ofcom as well. Because if we don't know what is actually going on, well, we can't then step up and be brutal with the truth. Because that's the thing I think was missing from that. I think if we amalgamate those two things, we can be brutal with the truth. The truth, you ever heard the truth hurts? God knows we all know that at certain points in my life. So let's gather and collect the truth, because I don't want I don't want me to ever sort of lose hope, you know. And I think we do that, and we build the good, solid foundations for the next wave of what this movement will evolve into by being the truth people. I honestly believe that, because in a world, you've seen Boris Johnson in a world of lies and bullshit. Like, you know, it's, we don't have to do anything but continue to be what we are. People are sick. I think people are making miscalculations, you know. So anyway, see what you've got to say about yourselves in the comments. Yeah. Right, 2 seconds. I'll just pull up. See who's in. Right, Michael's there. That was the last one I saw. Loads of people. I am going to be doing some sweeping and mopping after this. My partner is away with the 2 little dogs, and yeah, there's nothing I like more than a bit of like mopping up and sweeping, like when there's not loads of dogs under my feet. It's class. Just got me collie here, but he's very well trained. he's sitting there in the bathroom. Actually, it's one of his favorite spots. So what else we got here? David Livingston, only subjective if the subject is talking bollocks. History not so much. Spot on. So he's saying, so as usual, the truth doesn't matter. Yeah, the regulator, as Nathan said, is just not doing a thing. I'll just pull it up again. IPSO is controlled by the national press, and its standards code is riddled with loopholes put in place by the editors who wrote it. Even in cases like this, where there's overwhelming evidence of a breach of standards, its lack of independence leaves it disinclined to act, and its lack of powers render it unable to do so, even if it wanted to. That is startling. And I mean, Nathan knows what he's talking about. I've worked with him on one or two things over the years, and yeah, he's a good man, and he knows what he's talking about. And I listen when he talks, and I agree with his assessment as well. And he's very well qualified and experienced to make that assessment too. So, what else do we have? Jacqueline's saying, sounds like IPSO arguing on legal grounds and not on ethical or moral grounds. They are, and this is a problem. Law, I know it doesn't, and I'm not naive, and that's the type of things people say, isn't it? I'm fully cognizant of what. Look who makes laws? MPs, they're lawmakers. You know, it's gonna be a problem generally, isn't it? That it's not going to mirror ethical or moral grounds. It's generally going to mirror the interests of the establishment, global capital, those type of things, vested interests, lobbyists, people who buy the politicians off. So it's very interesting to extrapolate that into the media realm, and yeah, see how these things in that whole ecosystem tend to work, certainly in the UK. But the UK is not the only corrupt nation on earth, far from it, is it? Sorry, I've got Vindig pops. I'm a gentleman. If you're sitting there on the metro with your headphones in, I just saved you from listening to me burp down the microphone there. Don't know what's going on. Haven't even eaten anything today. Wild. What we got? Lizanne Richards calls in. Finally made it on time. Nice to see you, mate. Hopefully next week we can get ourselves in a regular schedule of 10 a.m. in the mornings, so people just know what time to turn up. I really apologize, like how sporadic the live stream's been. It's just obviously been, as you know, like latest health crash thing, and my dog getting his leg cut off, so it's been a bit of a mad time. But things are settling down. I got an extra half an hour sleep, but it was normal last night, so I'm a joy. So anyway, see if I can pull some more. Bob saying, hello, nice to see you. And who's Bob? IPSO is impartial, but only if you agree with the establishment. It seems so, mate, sadly. And I mean, you look at independent media, Impress is the independent media regulator. Independent media outlets are regulated to a higher standard than all of these ones regulated by IPSO. Seriously, crazy, huh? So Kirsty's saying, glorious to see Extinction Rebellion paint the media buildings. I've not seen it actually, because we're doing an earlier show at the minute. So I've walked the dog, prepped the show, and then straight on. So I'm looking forward to having a look at that, mate. If you've got any links you want to stick in the comments, I'll have a look after. So he's saying, hold on a minute. It's why channels such as this are so important and greatly appreciated. I appreciate that, mate. And one of the things when we diagnosed this thing about the media a long time ago, wasn't it? I think it was 2014 that I was made my first podcast. It was the same back then. It was, I think that was possibly when IPSO was launching. I think that was its first year as well. But it was the same back then too. So I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being here and all your support as well, because I wouldn't be here without you and other people like you. So really nice to see more and more people turning up, and we build momentum again, because those algorithms, they need feeding, man. That's how it works. If you stop feeding the algorithm, right, like I do for 2 months, it just hates you because it'll go to somebody else for its crack. But then you start giving it a taste, and it starts coming back around and starts popping off again. But it takes ages. You get a month of desolation and just brah. Anyway, there's my rant for the day. I'll take some more comments, then we'll do some hope and get ourselves away. James Campbell, an industry that is allowed to self-regulate will leave itself room to get around the regulations when needed. The British press are now majority owned by the very wealthy with vested interest politically, so there's far more incentive to abuse that self-regulation. Spot on, mate. Nice. Right, what we've got here. Right, I think we will do a little bit of hope, and then we'll get away. Feed the goat. Aye, feed the goat. Sean Goat, feed the goat and he will score. Shouts to Old School City. Honestly, right, this gave me hope simply because it made us laugh this morning, man. No disrespect to Babushka, Jackie Bonner. I mean, no ill will, mate, but I swear to God that I was buckled and still am to a degree inside. I said Ramadan Mubarak to all our Muslim friends, same as every year, putting out some love in the world. Babushka, Jackie Bonner replies, "Is it Ramadan?" And it's just simple things like that in life which just make me buckled laughing, man. It's like, it's just such a pure, like, yes, Jackie, it is. No, it's Diwali. Fucking belt of that, like. Anyway, just one thing I wanted to pick up. More and more I'm seeing like people just like go, hold on a minute, like this stop the boats thing, and like these people aren't so bad. And I think it gets lost in all of the noise, because as we've seen and we've detailed in this show, the media are just, they've got it sewn up, haven't they? Let's be honest. And there's no, they can basically do what they want with this thin veneer of a regulator that actually works. I mean, however, if they're not going to sanction Hitchens for this, and I'll be honest with you, I did speak to Nathan from Hacked Off about before putting the complaint in. I said, like, this is the thing. Have you like just and he was like, this is the results of what'll happen. I says, right, well, I'll do it anyway and see what happens. And it didn't make it any less troubling. But my point is with this, it's like people are seeing beyond this. It's just we're not really seeing it so much. But I'm seeing it because I get people like inboxing us going like, I used to be a bit of a fash, but like, I've watched your show, I listened to it, and it stopped as being a bit of a fash because I realized I'm being mugged off, And that's happened loads over the years, and it's class, and I love it, man. And it just makes like one of the aspects of doing this, making it all worthwhile. Because I like to think we don't throw things down people's necks, and obviously we'll be a bit full on with certain individuals, but like I like to think we're open to things, and I do see more and more people becoming less inclined towards hatred. And I don't know if that's just because I got half an hour extra sleep last night and I'm not as ratty, but I'm seeing great things occurring, and that's great. And we should use that and just try and take an interest in people who maybe aren't from the places that we are. I know that sounds very simplistic, but it's dead easy to do. Just talk, man. So yeah, that's what's bringing me hope today. The realization that like, the media are going to paint whatever picture they want to paint, aren't they? And it's well seen, just as just one example of this complaint response, what's going on. So if you do want to support independent media, go to patreon.com/cowdaily, patreon.com/cowdaily. We'll tell you the truth, and it'll be evidenced. And that's the minimum standard for journalism. I'm sure we can all agree in it, hopefully. So also link in the description for PayPal if you want to make a one-off donation to support our work. Not only that, I'm a heavy grass. This has been Cow Daily. I hope I never have to do any more Alfie ever again in my life, because I feel unclean. I'm from a working class area, and I feel like I need to go and scrub myself with the Alfie Brillo pad that we all keep in a box, marked the Alfie next to the old gibbet when we used to hang interlopers. See you next time, possibly tomorrow, but we'll see. Bye.